Rebels, they are inspired by the do it now. This is the moment. I'm in that mood. This is the right thing in this right time. Hi, I'm John Riordan. I love working with leaders and teams to help you expand your capacity to do great things in the world. I'm doing a series on the Four Tendencies by Gretchen Rubin, which is a really useful model to help you move from ideas into action. I'm just giving you some of the highlights of the model, not going into a lot of depth, just to show you the basics of how it works. In this clip, we're looking at the rebel tendency. I'm going to give you the highlights of how rebels operate. They are great at responding to the challenge and stepping up in the moment. They don't like to be told what to do. They resist external expectations. They also resist internal expectations. They don't like the heaviness of feeling like I ought to do something. Instead, they like to move as the spirit moves and go with the flow. I hope you find this really interesting and useful. Rebels. By definition, a rebel doesn't want to be put in a box. Resisting expectations, the ought tos. You ought to do this, you ought to do that. They are inspired by the do it now. This is the moment. I'm in that mood. This is the right thing in this right time. Margie said this one time to me about putting a lunch date on the calendar with a friend, a week ahead of time feels heavy. Like now I have to go to lunch on next Thursday at that time, instead of the spontaneity and the fun of it. And it sort of takes on the ought to feel. The key here is freedom, flexibility, opportunity. You can do it now, you can do it later, as long as it's done by this time. So freedom and flexibility, the rebels thrive on that. When it comes to strategies for action, the key for rebels is identity. Define that long-term identity. Who do you want to be? And then that will compel you into the actions you need to take to get there. For rebels, one of the key strategies that she points out, Gretchen Rubin, she points out is identity. What's the long-term identity? Who do I want to be? Who do I want to be next week? Who do I want to be next year? Who do I want to be 10 years from now? What's the long-term identity that I really want to choose? Then the actions that will get me there start to become apparent. Now, I'm still free to choose my own path. Do I need to go today? I can go tomorrow. Do I need to go now? I could go later. I have flexibility on the path towards that identity. The rebel temperament thriving on the freedom when they choose their identity. Now, in a working environment, there are certain boundaries, but again, what identity do you want to have in this organization? How do you want to be known? You want to be known as hardworking. Okay, so what actions will you take to strengthen and uphold that identity? You might tap into then their sense of self-motivation. If you found that helpful, please share with others. You can find the other videos in this series as well as other resources on other topics on my website at johnriordan.com. I'd love to connect on LinkedIn or Facebook, and I'd like to hear what have you found helpful when it comes to getting yourself or others into action. Let's go change the world.